When you genuinely root for the success of a few creators because you love their craft so much, you watch their films hoping that everything will work out. And watching the first half of Leo, I was so hopeful. I was on such a high. I thought it was only going to get better. And after a long time, I haven't been this heartbroken of just how the second half turned out. Damn. It really is a bummer because this could have been so much more. The hype regarding the Thalapathy Vijay starrer Leo has been off the charts. Looking at one of the biggest openings for a Tamil star, the goodwill that both Vijay and Lokesh have developed over the years has really led to the masses being curious about their venture together. This also has to do with the perfect stance taken by Lokesh for the marketing campaign of the film, neither confirming nor denying the links of the film to the LCU, compelling fans, even neutral viewers, to buy their ticket and see it for themselves. While I wasn't an absolute fan of their last venture together, Master, which I believe slightly transitioned to become fan service versus catering to the story, there was still a madness technically with Anirudh's magic that made me really hyped for their next collaboration. Leo, directed by Lokesh Kanagaraj, undeniably is an adaptation of the David Cronenberg directed film A History of Violence that released in 2005. Those in denial of its clear inspiration should watch the film because Lokesh references its influence in the opening credits. The film focuses on Parthi, played by Vijay, who works as a chocolatier, manages a coffee shop and lives a peaceful life with his family, his wife Satya, played by Trisha, and his son and daughter. When the past of the presumably simple-minded and regular Joe Parthi comes back to haunt him with the integration of the likes of Anthony Das, played by Sanjay Dutt, and Harold Das, played by Arjun, Parthi is compelled to go back to his violent tendencies for the protection of his family. Are the man that they assume him to be someone else, or is Parthi actually the infamous Leo Das who everyone feared? Exploring a family man dealing with violence at his doorstep and wanting to be a tiger protective of his cubs forms the basic storyline of Leo. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Leo in theaters or not. Action set pieces and brilliant setup. I know it's rather reductive to make film analysis about two halves of a film, but I can't begin to tell you about the deterioration in storytelling pre and post the interval of Leo. Lokesh brilliantly sets up the family dynamic of Parthi, the peaceful life that he lives, and the non-confrontational attitude he abides by. The film with its first half exactly does what it should, sets up the characters brilliantly for the crescendo and madness to follow in the second half. The problem, however, is one is thoroughly disappointed with the creative choices made by Lokesh Kanagaraj in the second half that takes away from all the exceptional work done initially. This has nothing to do with the performances, but all to do with an overwrought screenplay, something that I will explore a little later in the review. The tussle between embarking on a journey of zero conflict versus having to resort to violence is showcased so well by Lokesh in the first half. There is a cafe sequence where Vijay is pushed to the edge, and the tension that is built over a period of time just showcases a character who has reached his last straw. The anguish that consumes him because he resorted to his violent ways is superbly performed by Vijay too. Lokesh is considered to be a master when it comes to capturing action in his films, especially when choreographed by the duo that helped him out in Vikram as well. And this stands out specifically in two sequences beyond the cafe sequence. One that features a seamless drone shot across a tobacco factory as mayhem ensues, and in a public market where the gore and violence I love to see in action films is abundantly clear in each frame. Vijay screaming in agony at the top of his lungs because of the constant bombardment of violence set this film up so well in the first half. I still can't wrap my head around how it can falter so much in the second. CGI mishaps. There is a heavy dependence by Lokesh in the VFX department in this film, and this involves not only the integration of animals but some action set pieces as well. The hyena portion that we see in the trailer can be best described as middling, neither exceptional nor poor. Lokesh and his introduction of Vijay usually showcases the physical prowess of the character, and Vijay's ability to de-escalate escalate the situation of a hyena let loose was poorly choreographed in my opinion, especially when Vijay is found dunking on a basketball hoop to avoid getting bitten or javelins being passed around like it was a relay race. The CGI animal integration in the screenplay that carries on in the film felt slightly unnecessary to me, as the animals themselves did not really represent to be metaphors that lent to the story. They simply just existed. While the idea of a bike chasing SUVs was exciting on paper, it doesn't really translate to become as adrenaline pumping as one may have assumed. Anirudh's conflicting work in Leo. Anirudh, despite his saturation, still has the capability to leave a distinct mark with his music and score in a film, but I can't really say the same for his work in Leo. While everyone sings praises of the exhilarating song Na Reddy, I genuinely became a fan of the melodious tune Anbinam, as it seamlessly sets up the familial bond of Parthi and his family, pulling you in to empathize and emotionally root for the peaceful life they have established for themselves and makes you genuinely fear for the violence they will be met with. I must also say they ruined Na Reddy in the editing table. A case of a feet tapping and exciting dance number should be uninterrupted. It was squandered because of revelations of the film's core conflict somehow needed to be done at the same time. The theme of Lokesh integrating vintage music to lend to his action set pieces exists here as well, but it's becoming repetitive and lacks the novelty that it had in films like Kaithi and Vikram. There are too many EDM tracks in the film that we will casually forget, and after a long time I felt like Anirudh could not really create a solid impression with his work. Thalapathy Vijay, the actor, the star, and the performer. While I was critical of the idea that Vijay's star presence may have diluted whatever original idea Lokesh may have conceived for Master, I can wholeheartedly say without a doubt that this is a Lokesh film 100%. And Vijay has given his heart, blood, sweat, and tears for this film. He is the anchor of the ship. He is the captain trying to make it stay afloat as it sinks in its own complicated themes in the second half. It's always him leading the pack. I was in awe of him because of the intricate detailing of simply his posture and gait in the current timeline versus the flashback. You see a character more heavy on his feet, slightly fumbling when wanting to sprint, but you see a young Vijay in a flashback move faster than most actors in their early 20s. I was in awe of him moving in Na Reddy, and it'll become even more clear to you when you see others dance next to him and pale in comparison. He is physically proficient in the action, nimble and crisp in his dance steps, and just when I thought he was going to be portrayed as another unbreakable force, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He breaks down in front of his wife, helpless of the circumstances, a scene also so well performed by Trisha. He kisses his daughter's forehead, at peace, wanting to live in this moment for the rest of his life. Vijay gives everything to this role, and I cannot fault him for a single moment. But shockingly, it is Lokesh's screenplay that really lets the film down, especially in the second half. A very dull origin story in second half. Imagine a movie that spends a major chunk of its marketing campaign in advertising the conflict of Leo. The presentation of Arjun and Sanjay Dutt was as if they were the most intimidating villains to come across Tamil cinema. But I can't emphasize further on how you leave the theatre after this movie, not even remembering either of their performances or roles. They are so haphazardly presented, so rushed in exploring their dynamic with Leo that you don't feel an iota of emotion of the antagonists and the harm that they can cause towards Parthi and his family. You care for Parthi and their family individually in its own cocoon, but you couldn't care less about Harold Das and Anthony Das. The film also has to compensate from a technical standpoint for their lack of movement too in the action scenes with several abrupt jump cuts. I think there is a point also where the Sanjay Dutt antagonist roles also have reached a saturation point where he is just sleepwalking through roles. The second half presents some ideas that should actually send shivers down your spine. The themes are creepy, borderline scary, but are presented in such a rushed tone that the most anticipated portion of the film, essentially the flashback of Leo, becomes its weakest portion. The film transitions to become one action set piece after the other. The overwrought Home Alone booby traps and Vijay going full Kesari mode gets tiring. The CGI animals don't help the case either, so while Vijay shines in each and every frame, Lokesh's screenplay honestly did not support him the same way, because Vijay honestly gave 100% as an actor purely to this project. A film that I had huge expectations from becomes more or less an average fare at the movies. The integration of the LCU initially seemed playful and entertaining, but what it attempted in the climax just seemed like a last-minute cash grab rather than something organically thought of. I think this one deserves a spoiler-filled talk, right? What say? And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Leo. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.